Hi everyone, it's Guelma, and this is the Raised Right podcast, where today I'm going to talk about the Batfleck versus MCU Captain America episode of the Who Would Win show with the guest judge, comedian Toby Morshanu. I hope we're all having a good mainstream March. The Who Would Win show definitely is. This time we have Batfleck versus MCU Captain America. Batfleck is mainstream right now because of the Justice League Snyder Cut, which I heard is around 4 hours long. Now, the original one was around 2 hours long, so me and some of my Twitter buddies were like, why is it so long? What happens in it? So, yeah, there's a lot of hype and speculation surrounding this Snyder Cut. And MCU Captain America is mainstream, I'm guessing because of Falcon and the Winter Soldier is coming out, something like that. There's also a lot of hype surrounding the new show as well, so yay! And it was interesting because Who Would Win fans on Twitter and Facebook were like, how could Batman possibly defeat Captain America? Like, what? How is this fair? Like, when it came to Ray winning this week as he was representing Captain America, it kind of reminds you of the original Mulan when Mushu was like, how could you miss? He was right in front of you. But the Who Would Win Instagram poll showed that Batman was the winner by 60 or 70%. Like some insane ratio like that. So, yeah. Facebook and Twitter were like, yeah, Captain America's got this. And then Instagram's like, what are you talking about? Batman's definitely got this. But here's the episode in a nutshell. So here were Ray's 3 points as he was repping MCU Captain America, played by Chris Evans. 1. The Super Soldier Serum. Cranked up to 11. Like, this guy is peak human. He can outrun cars, like motorized vehicles. He's insanely fast. And he's really durable. You know, he took a plasma shot to the gut, which could just, like, destroy a human. And he kept going. And he got punched by Bucky and Quicksilver, which Ray argued could have the power of an infinite mass punch. Infinite mass punch. It's so powerful, I can't even say it. And then he got punched by Iron Man, Spider Man, and he kept going. And he can punch submarines, which, you know, they can withstand an insane amount of pressure, so that's really something. And he can split logs with his bare hands. And then Ray's point number 2 was his base weapon, the vibranium shield. It's an unbreakable weapon. It cannot be damaged in any way. It can block guns and pistols and machine guns and Loki's scepter, Ultron, and even Thor's hammer. He deflected Thor's energy back towards him, like in the first Avengers movie. Well, I mean, Thanos was able to break it, but come on, this is Thanos we're talking about here. So he can probably unblock and deflect Batman's attacks because he's very adept at using the shield, and he dealt with smoke grenades in the war, you know, kind of like the ones that Batman uses. So, I mean, he could probably, you know, like be really used to that, and he can deflect Batman's attacks because he's very adept at using the shield. And you know, so whatever Batman might like have in his utility belt, he's like, no, I got this with my shield and my dodging skills. He could even cut Spidey's webs and elevator cables with his shields. Well, he's one of the best trained fighters in all of Marvel, and he uses this training effectively, you know, with his martial arts and his shield foo, I guess. And then he has a magnet in his arm to like throw the vibranium shield back, kind of like how Thor brings his hammers back. But then in James's rebuttal to Ray's second point, he's like, well, the magnet doesn't work quite as well as Thor's hammer. And he's like talking about how Captain America is like a hammer. He hits hard, but he's not flexible like Batman is. And then James was saying that Batman was like flex tape. He can do many things, which ties into James' point number 2 that Batman is flex tape. Yeah. And then Ray's point number 3 was the history of Captain America throughout the MCU. He's had a lot of victories. He's defeated Spider Man, War Machine, and Iron Man, who had an equally, if not better, power suit than Batman does. And then he went back in time and defeated the younger version of himself. Like, you know, Captain America versus Captain America. It's like that Spider-Man meme when the two Spider-Mans are like pointing at each other like, no you, no you, like the doppelgangers, pum pum pum. And he beat Bucky in hand-to-hand combat. He's disarmed Crossbones, Corvus, and even Thor when he shot him backwards in that first Avengers movie. I also enjoyed that scene in the first Avengers movie that Ray was talking about, like whenever the New York cops, who are usually like unimpressed by anything. I don't know, I've been to New York. It seems like it takes a lot to probably impress a lot of those people. They are very busy. And then the New York cop was like, "Why should we listen to you?" And then Cap defeats some of those like Chitauri monsters, and he's like, "That's why." And the cop's like, "Okay, yeah, we're listening to this guy." And then he fights and defeated 12 guys in that elevator scene, and he's defeated Red Skull, Black Panther, and was even worthy enough to pick up Thor's hammer in Endgame. But I thought it was funny how Thor was like, you get the smaller hammer. Oh, because that was so cute. And then he even went toe to toe with Thanos. He didn't win, but like I said, this is Thanos we're talking about, so yeah, that's all very impressive feats. And here are James's 3 points. 1. Batman's got a 192 IQ. Now that is like really high. Like if you're considered around like in the 180s IQ wise, you're like profoundly gifted. Like what? He's like a super genius and he worked hard for it and he also worked hard on his physical strength. He's a martial arts expert and he just has to win. He has an insane obsession with winning. Cap has a moral code. He follows it. Batman does whatever it takes to win. The punches you didn't see coming hurt the most. He's stealthy. He could sneak around and probably, get him like a sucker punch with Captain America, and he could plant explosives in Captain America and sneak away. Ray's rebuttal is that, well, he has to wear armor. He fights a lot of human characters like the mercenaries in the warehouse, like kind of those unnamed goon number one. But James's point number two is that Batman is flex tape. Ooh. So yeah, as we can tell, James really loves talking about flex tape in the flex tape commercial, and so do I. Like Phil Swift, and he was talking about like the Phil Swift commercial with the boat in half. Like I just saw this boat in half. Like why would you do that? I guess to show that you can tape it together with flex tape and it would still work. He's talking about how like Batman's more of like a screwdriver than like a hammer. Like how he was comparing Captain America to a hammer, because Batman is flexible and he can fix things. Like he has many different uses. He doesn't just attack hammer down like a hammer. He has a grappling hook and sticky explosive that can blow up guns in people's hands as he's done before. He caught a parademon that is as fast as Cap, and he took hits from it and kept going. And his suit and even his cowl are bulletproof and diffuses impact. He uses his gadgets like how a boxer uses his punch in combination. Like he's got a strategy for all those cool gadgets. But he can be a hammer if he needs it. Like that there's that flexibility. Like, sometimes you just gotta be a screwdriver, but sometimes you just gotta be a hammer. It's not and then in Ray's rebuttal, he's like, it's not a good idea to bring a screwdriver up against a hammer. I thought it was funny when Ray was like, just because you fly in a plane doesn't mean you have super speed. Like when he's talking about how Batman's grappling hook like attaches to planes and then he flies along with it. But and then James's point number three was that Batman can use psychological tricks to defeat Captain America. Kind of like IMF. Captain America fights fair, but he cares about his opponents. He's kind of an empathetic guy. So, after they talk, Batman can distract him, trick him, and use his gadgets to win the day using Captain America's pride and sense of fairness to Batman's own advantage. Basically, he wins by catching him off guard. After the first point, Toby was talking about how Batman's work ethic was more American than Captain America, but he was still leaning towards Captain America winning. And then the turning point after their point number twos, Toby said that James lost him after all the flex tape. It's okay, James. I understand the flex tape love. Like, I've never bought flex tape, but I love the commercials. I might actually buy some someday. I should. Like, when there's like house repairs, it's like, oh, I should have got flex tape. But he did say that he doesn't think Captain America is as smart as Batman. However, he felt as if Captain America is still kind of like in the lead. And then he declared Captain America the winner. And you know what that means? Ray was right. Ray was like, can't we just agree that I win every week all the time? He's like, Cap, I can do this all day. No, but James, I could tell he was really passionate about this battle. Speaking of which, have you ever seen Bruce Wayne and James Gatsby together in the same room before? Ooh. And of course, Toby did a really great job as well. Great jobs all around. And I'm recording this episode on St. Patrick's Day, so I'm wishing you all a happy St. Patrick's Day. And hopefully you all had a good one. The tenses are weird there, because I'm like gonna release it the next day, because this is like the 24-hour spoiler period, so we don't know who wins. And be like, oh, Ray won! And then be like, what? I didn't listen to the episode yet. But, I think you know what I mean. But thanks for listening. Bye!